And with that, let's get into our spotlight for the week, our gear spotlight. Putter grips. Jaywell, what grip do you have on your putter?
That's not good. He doesn't know.
A boring ping. Oh well, it's only because it's boring. It's a ping. It's a PP58. It's
Of course it is.
The Tiger grip.
Of course it is. You wear your Frank hat when you putt with that?
No, just my Frank underwear.
How about you, Tursky?
I play the original grip that was on the Terillium.
So you've never changed it?
I never changed it. No, I'm not taking off the original grip. What?
I
have another putter where I do have a thicker Super Stroke on there.
Now, have you guys ever tried other putter grips?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have I have a fat Super Stroke on one of the putters,
Okay.
but to me, it's more like, that's like my crosshand grip putter. When I want to go crosshand, I want that extra thickness on the putter grip.
Because of the non-taper feature.
I don't know. It kind of takes away my feel. Like I want to feel the weight of the head.
Same here.
Because I like releasing the putter.
I feel like I lose a lot of my feel when I go to a larger grip. It just. I mean, I know it can be a benefit to some golfers because it removes the small muscles and forces you to use the larger ones. But I've always been a feel putter. I don't. I know I've got a line on the flange of my blade, but it's really more just to kind of pick a point. And then I just kind of go from feel from that point forward. Now, I'm not a great putter, so I wouldn't follow my lead. But yeah, I've just always been that way.
Yeah, no, I'm a terrible putter, but I don't have like the actual yips, knock on wood, yet.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have them yet. I just miss a lot of putts. Like I'll have 38 putts in a round, but it won't be like yips. It'll just be I missed the putt.
So he's at the first stage of bad
I'm
putting.
at the first stage,
which is I'm a bad putter.
Yeah.
He's not at I'm a bad putter, you see. And he's probably a couple years away from I'm a bad putter, you see, I told you.
Right. But let's get into putter grips and why bigger is beneficial. And because there's so many putter grips now in all different shapes, like triangular,
that's what I really
circular,
want to get into.
A regular putter grip, tapered, non-tapered.
When you're looking at shaping and size and texture, all three are important. And then the other thing to remember is that with different putter grips, you're going to have a weight component. And the weight components on putter grips fluctuate all over the place. And that's going to have an impact over the swing weight of the putter, which could have an effect on the way we move the putter.
And whether it's painted black or white.
Correct.
Yeah.
So let's get into shaping. This was something that I really took a deep dive into with a tour player a couple years back who was outside the top 120 in their putting stats, who within a couple years, through work with Phil Kenyon and a lot of perseverance and changing the putter too, ended up being one of the top 5 putters on tour and got to number 1 in the world.
I feel like I can guess who this is. But.
So turning the grip sideways, everybody's like, why is that grip on sideways? It's crooked. No, it's not crooked. It's actually there for a reason because of the way that the shaping of that grip nested into his hands when he made a putting stroke. So whatever type of grip style you're using, whether it's cross-handed, overlap, double reverse overlap, claw, there are different variations on the claw, whether you run your finger down the shaft, curl it down the shaft, run it over top of the grip. Whether you're all these different, you're looking at arm lock putting now, and they've developed grips that are specific to arm lock putting that have some almost like a shim on the left-hand side of the grip that's designed to lay up against your lead forearm. When you look at the shaping of a grip, the thing that you have to understand is that the way that you put your hands on a grip and the size and anatomy of your hands. So like my hand, I've got short, stubby fingers and super huge palm. You look at somebody that's got really long, skinny fingers and a narrow palm. There you go. Tursky's a perfect example. So the combination of the way that your hand is shaped and the way that you actually put your hands on the club, when you think about it, you're applying force to the putter when you make a putting stroke. And so you're applying that force through the contact points that you have in contact with the grip. If you were to take a grip with a putting grip and you were to use like an overlap, and then you were to kind of go more baseball grip with a long thumb, if you were to just make that one variation in the way you put your hands on a grip, you would notice that your contact points on your fingers and palms actually change on the grip. And if those contact points are changing on the grip, that could possibly lead to a difference in the way that the force is being applied to the shaft during the stroke, and it could lead to different stroke dynamics. So that's the first thing to consider. The next thing here is the size. So the larger the grip gets, in general, the lower the rate of closure, or the lower the face tends to close. So with some players, they believe that a bigger grip will prevent pulls, so to speak. I've seen it work the other way. I think that there's a large placebo effect in that. But the bottom line is there is some evidence that rate of closure lowers, but I don't know if it's something that you can apply to all players. What I can say about larger grips, if we take a grip that's the same gram weight and the same shape, and we just make the grip bigger in the same texture, and we make the grip bigger, that impacts what we call the impact ratio of the ball off the face. So the ball comes off the face slightly slower with a larger grip. So if you're somebody that tends to be a lot more tentative, and you're lagging putts and maybe leaving putts short, going to a larger size grip, that may make that worse. What would be the benefits of a larger size grip? Well, stability. If you struggled, with the putter head kind of tremoring throughout the stroke, or the path of the putter kind of looping and not having a consistent shape to the path, then having that larger grip up at the end may help stabilize it to some degree. And then you also talk about texture. Texture is more of a personal preference and feel. Now, when you start to, how does that in play? That's really more going to be something that breeds confidence, and it's not so much a performance tendency that you're going to be able to quantify through different metrics. But obviously, if the grip feels horrible in your hands, like for me, some of these newer materials, some of these newer polyurethane materials, I just don't like the feel of them at all. It gets very slippery in my hands. So the texture plays into, with me, when it's really cooking outside, I sweat, and I don't want to have my grip slip on my hand slip on the grip. Getting back to shaping for just a quick second, you look at like Rosemark, and Lydia Ko made Rosemark a very popular thing for a period of time. You look at the shaping of that grip, and I would qualify it as being like ergonomically shaped, where it's designed to lay into the way that your fingers actually wrap around the grip. Once again, to increase the contact points with your hands, to add some stability and control. You look at Garson Max. Stenson had Garson Max in play for a really long time, and that has a ridge. Finau too. So that has a ridge right down the center of the top of the grip. So everybody's used to or
the lab putters that automatically put you in a forward press
Exactly
position.
Right. So it's an offset grip. But when you talk about like the Garson Max, what's that made for? Well, in order to get your hands on the grip, you have to take your thumbs and put them opposite down the sides of the shaft. And when you do that, your elbows actually rotate internally closer to your rib cage.
That's how like Annika used to putt.
So if you're somebody that wants to put your elbows against your rib cage when you putt, maybe a Garson Max grip will encourage that. You look at Lampkin, and they introduced a deep V design in one of their putter grips this year, where like the V shape in the pistol is really, really exacerbated. You look at pistol grips versus paddle grips, non-tapered grips. There's so many multitude of grip options. What I would say to players is, before you abandon your putter, if you're thinking about ditching the putter because you're not putting very well, try a couple of putter grip options first, because you may find that just changing the putter grip gives you a whole new lease on life when it comes to putting, because it can actually change. For some players, it can change the way they make putting strokes. And I find that a lot of players will get pigeonholed into one specific preference or one specific grip as far as shape, and they really get closed-minded towards anything else, when there could be a shaping or a size that would benefit them as far as the way they actually move the putter. So the putter grip is a big deal. It's something that a lot of groups are just starting to look into. I know I've spoken with the folks over at Lampkin, Bob Lampkin, and Jamie Ledford over at Golf Pride, about like what their thoughts are on this, and they are all looking into this because they know that there's something there, that the way that we putt actually has a lot to do with the grip that we choose.
How do you suggest right now, especially in this climate with like coronavirus and stuff, how do you suggest people go about even finding the right grip for them? I mean, you just reeled off 12 different putter grips. It's like, it's overwhelming.
So one thing I would say is, grips don't cost a heck of a lot. You're talking anywhere from $6, $7, $8 up to $20 rather. So it can be just as simple as taking the old one off, putting a new one on, seeing how it rolls. If you're wanting to actually go through a test process, you're going to have some way to control that. So within the same day, you're going to want to be able to change grips using basically the exact same putter. And how do you do that? Well, it gets a little cumbersome. So if you have a repair station or a repair shop at your local club, you can maybe bring 4 or 5 different grips, putt for 20 minutes with one grip, go and change the grip, and then go back. Now, obviously, that's probably a couple hour long exercise. A lot of players I know aren't going to spend 2 hours putting. Or you can just come into a true spec. Yeah, so we use a putter connector system called Club Connects. And it allows us to interchange both shaft length in the exact same head. But more importantly, it allows us to change different grip styles using the exact same head. So you can do it in a controlled environment. But whenever you're testing product, I advise to do it in a more controlled environment where you're isolating variables and you're only changing one variable at a time. If you change, let's say you pick up a Spider and it has a grip on it, and then you pick up a Newport 2 and it has a different shape and size and style to that grip. That's not an accurate way to test grips because you're putting with 2 putters that are apples and oranges. They're not even
That's
close.
not a good way of comparing putter heads either.
In general.
Because you could just like the grip and not actually the head.
Correct.
You don't know why your mind likes
exactly
what you
right.
like.
So try to isolate variables and only test the putter grip. Maybe you can get your hands on a bunch of Answer 2, Newport 2 style heads, the traditional blades with the plumber's neck. Maybe you can get your hands on a bunch of different types of those from different manufacturers, which are similar designs but have different grips. Maybe that's a way you can do it. But it's definitely worth exploring, I think, for most players out there because the story a couple weeks back with Gary McCord and his putter bonfire. Maybe he wouldn't have had that many putters if he had just tried a couple different grips along the way.
Right.
So
you want to know how bad golfers are in general at putting and getting the ball in the hole? Just look at the putter market and the putter grip industry. How many different designs are out there just trying to help people, get comfortable on the green.